Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. The title is When Energy Stares at Itself in the Mirror. And really, I was inspired today by a quote from Aristotle where he says, "The energy of the mind is the essence of life." The energy of the mind is the essence of life. Aristotle says that. What that means is that reality is an energetic system. It is an energetic occurrence. Now, this energy divides, we can say, into two sides of a coin, where this energetic event is leading to an outer object based existence. And this energy is simultaneously being an inner subject based experience. That means it's like, what is energy doing after 4.5 billion years? Noticing how in the outer realms it is existing as an object, how in the inner realms it is experiencing itself as a subject. You see, our existence is tangible. You can like touch a person, you can touch your physical body, you can feel it. It's there, it's existential. You can close your eyes, open it, and it's still there, existential. But when it comes to experience, I can't, just like I touch my shoulder, I can't touch the idea of my shoulder. I can't touch the idea of myself. That is in the domain of uh, inner subjective experience. Now, I remember in one talk saying something that after saying it, it kind of sank in more. I remember I was talking about how when Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the phone, I just thought, imagine the first moment where a human being, imagine you are a very passionate evolutionary biologist, and you are seeing the first time two human beings are communicating over the phone. It would be as if billions of years it took for the genetical opportunity of one creature to be able to have a conversation with another creature. That means technically, how long does it take to create a podcast? I would say 4.5 million years, billion years. So the two sides of the coin of energy is existence and experience. Experience is, I would say, dynamic. Our experience changes, but our existence remains the same. We still exist. Everybody who's been born, you exist until now. But the way you have experienced yourself is different in the sense that it kind of goes like a sine wave. It's like a dolphin jumping in and out of water or in and out of consciousness. where the person wakes up in the conscious waking state, and as the energy levels in some sense, what's the term, subside, uh, the person begins going closer and closer to the unconscious. So right now it's the morning. I feel I have entered my consciousness. Usually when it gets, when I'm about to sleep, that's when I really consciously, I feel like I'm exiting my consciousness. Because it's all about the effort of activity. If a person is lying down on, let's say on the bed at night, in the bed at night, and they want to sleep, if their inner realms keep activating, that means if the body is trying to be still, but the inner realms move, the body can't be still. It is only when the inner realms accept and trust the outer realms that instantly the being can go to sleep. And the way we're designed is that when our energy levels, uh, you can say, come down, we have no choice other than to trust the system to get to the next phase. It's kind of like this. The weaker your sense of self is, the more you need to trust the world. The stronger your sense of self is, the less you need to doubt the world. That means if somebody was to ask you, whoever is listening, wherever in the world you are listening from, where does your strength come from? Where does your energy to continue as a phenomenon come from? Not that there has to be an answer to this, but I'm saying just to wonder about, all right, am I an energetic event taking place? And how separate, how contained am I as this energetic event? To the outer realms, there is a body that is projecting your mind. To the inner realms, there is no body. The inner realms is like the causal position never changed, never went anywhere for the inner realms. But for the outer realms, the causal position changed. Now we're in the effect that's causing something else. Oh my God, eons of time. you know? Guys, I would like to read for you, um, share something with you from this, you can say, this Viennese philosopher and psychologist, you can say, Viktor E. Frankl. Um, Viktor Frankl was influenced by Friedrich Nietzsche, and for people who don't know Friedrich Nietzsche could be legitimately said to be like the first psychologist, I would say. I would say he was the first philosopher. He was the philosopher that inspired a lot of important psychologists after his time, including Freud, Jung, and others. And of course, guys, something to keep in mind: Viktor Frankl was he was a person who had experienced the concentration camps of Auschwitz and whatnot. So he was someone who had seen an incredible amount of suffering, and in his experiences, something that Friedrich Nietzsche had said in regards to any man who can um, bear a why, find a why, can bear a how. Sorry, let me just find this. Okay, there we go. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Yeah, that means the person who has a reason to live, they have something to anything happens to them in the system to adjust to. You know, if you're a religious person, it's the abstraction in the story, faith in the abstraction of the story. If you're a secular person, your why is material based first, then immaterial. You know, and if you were on the other side, the religious, it would be immaterial first, your why, and then you know the material is being considered, the materialistic. Okay, there we go. So this is the quote by Viktor Frankl, guys. To put the question of the meaning of life in general terms would be comparable to the question posed to a chess champion. Tell me, master, what is the best move in the world? There is simply no such thing as the best or even a good move apart from a particular situation in a game and the particular personality of one's opponent. The same holds for human existence. One should not search for an abstract meaning of life. Everyone has his own specific vocation or mission in life to carry out a concrete assignment which demands fulfillment. I mean, the second part is a bit deterministic, but I'll tell you, self-deterministic. But I'll say that what Viktor Frankl is saying is pretty much, if you went to a chess master and you're like, what's the best chess move? The chess master would first ask you, who am I playing against? What was the previous move done before? You see, there are people who want to see meaning in an empty system, and there are those people who, before they want to see the meaning in the system, they want to see if it's empty or not. Then they see the meaning in it. You know. So I would say the complexity of the human position and situation is that there is no best chess move. that a group of chess players can sit down and talk and say this is the only chess move, you know? That's the thing, that every chess game is different. The unknown, how the known and unknown variables to the moment arise, come and go. It is different, you know? I can, I have attempted, kind of as a personal thing for me. Sometimes when I share a story I have shared before, sometimes I wonder, for me, the interesting thing is if it is possible to say a story ever in the same way twice in different days. You see, something changes about every day we wake up. Literally, the date changes, the weather changes, and we think we're still the same as yesterday. It's like every day the person's sense of self is changing, but their beliefs on the world are static, as if not allowed to change. I find the whole issue with our modern society is that language is not being seen as unchangeable. Excuse me, language is being seen as unchangeable. That's the issue. You see, the world is happening on an on an existential level in one way, and then as we experience it, we contain it. You can say life is like the chess game being played, but you can say existence is like the chessboard and the pieces and the game, and then you can say experience is what is giving life to this chessboard. In my youth, I was raised in a environment where religious information was around. Literally, in a country that, due to religion being infused, church and state not being separate, every person literally has to know be acquainted with religious ideology to know the politics of the nation. You know, and there is this thing that why is it a human being doesn't grab everything? Let's say you are a rock collector. Why don't you grab every single rock you see in your hand? Why does the rock collector go to specific rocks and pick them? I would tell you that in my youth, truth was something to find. Now, truth is inseparable from an individual experience and a collective existence. It's like, who knew before we were all named, we were the universe being the universe, you know? We were the silent, united force of manifestation. There are kingdoms in silence that man will never see through words. There's another quote from Viktor E. Frankl. He says, a man who becomes conscious of the responsibility he bears toward a human being who affectionately waits for him or to an unfinished work will never be able to throw his life away. He knows the why for his existence and he will be able to bear almost anyhow. That's the thing. I felt like, honestly, like a drop waiting to evaporate in this human existence. And then I realized that it's like the you can say the drop is like, how am I gonna get out of here? The drop that's like melting, not melting, like evaporating, getting ready to evaporate. Then this drop This is where, as Viktor E. Frankl builds upon Friedrich Nietzsche's quote, he who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. It's as if the why is the river. It's like a river. It's like a drop falling into a river. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what drops out of the river evaporate when your essence is grounded in the river. So what does that mean? That means an existential creature requires to actually activate itself purely as an experiential creature to not feel that the experience is limited by existence. We think it is. Right now, it's strange. We're in a weird place, I would say, in our species in regards to what we're accepting as reality. We're saying there's optical illusions. A person shouldn't trust a magic show. At the same time, we got to see it to believe it. It's as if we have made our visual senses the only senses. And when I think about a lot of what modern society sees as ancient superstition, as really the difference between visual kingdoms and auditory kingdoms. When you see the concept of revelation in, I would say, in religious ideal, and for me, guys, let me tell you something straight up. For me, is I am in a strange situation where I would say, my view is nothing can be truth cannot be contained in language. So that means it doesn't matter what language, what person uses, if someone can come in front of me and use any kind of language, you know? And I will know that if they are looking for a truth in language, they have fooled themselves before they could not be fooled. Because the whole point is language is an effect of experience. So really how experiences have arose to me suggests how I use the language. In other words, from finding truth, we are going into a free will state of being responsible to generate it. That means really everything's being generated. People may think they are being even profound philosophers, but I'll tell you, it's like language is thin ice. And on this thin ice, a species is breakdancing, doing the heaviest things, thinking this ice is going to remain. But we all know that there is a sort of experiential um, uh, dissolution ahead. Meister Eckhart says a human being, this Christian mystic, he says a human being has so many skins inside, covering the depths of the heart. We know so many things, but we don't know ourselves. Why 30 or 40 skins or hides as thick and hard as an ox's or bear's cover the soul? Go into your own ground and learn to know yourself there. This is super key for those who are interested who care about mysticism. And it's mysticism, of course, is not for the faint of heart. A person should go towards mysticism when they are fully content with how their outer realms happens. Unless you're comfortable with the outer realms, the person can go into their inner realms, but they will instantly come out. Instantly, that their attention will linger in the inner realms. Unless the person has accepted nature prior to themselves. Okay, guys, an interesting comment in the chat section. First of all, welcome everyone. Somebody, this Bond in the chat section says we're in a society that doesn't even pretend we exist. I would say this. Imagine whatever position and situation the human being was. Imagine you're sitting on a chair of a view of the world. Now, imagine you're a person sitting on the chair, and this is a free will system. This system, it took us 4 billion years to just be able to notice what our suffering is. That means anybody who feels stressed or they feel depressed or something, let me tell you something. It took us 4 billion years. It's an advancement. It's an advancement to notice, to be able to see deeper dimensions to meaning of whatever design, you know? My whole point is that we tend to either break ourselves or break the world when we are not okay with an unknown system. If the person can realize that it's as if like you don't like, I'll give you an example. When a person walks in nature, they see the truths of the realm in front of them. And one of these truths is that nature, just like your cells, just like genes, they are self-replicating. Every animal in nature is behaving in accordance to its design. And it's also is behaving in accordance to the design of the environment. That means we are that unique animal. Just take that in. On a rock in the middle of nowhere, we are that unique creature that was like, yo, is this an environment? And ta-da, consciousness. You know? So I am saying that we are in the most unique position, in an unfathomable position, where 4 billion years of evolution has brought forth the potential of an atomic system for stardust to look at itself in the mirror and call itself whatever name it likes. Let me tell you, breaking things is always easier than building things. This is why it's too easy to get rid of something rather than actually trying to see its value. Because there is so many ways. When I think about my youth, and I wanted to be a soccer player, guys, when I was young. I wanted to just kick a ball into a net. That's all I wanted to do. But then when I realized there's a mind here, that's the whole point. There's something weird here. Something strange is happening as everything in a moment of non-existence. It is too unique. The design and intelligence of the realm is too unique. It's too just here. And again, back to the analogy of things taking a while to be built and breaking. I mean, building, how long does it take to build? And how in a day it can be broken. In one day, your progress can be broken. Do you know? I'll tell you the story. There was this grandfather. He's sleeping, and the grandkids are like, "Yo, let's do a prank or something." And so the grandkids go and they find this smelly piece of cheese, and they put this cheese. The grandfather's sleeping on the couch. They put the cheese on the grandfather's mustache, a tiny piece of cheese, so the grandfather can't see this diabolical, I don't know, grandkids or whatever. The grandfather wakes up, and first thing the grandfather notices, he's like, why are these kids behaving so disciplined? This is odd. Suddenly the smell hits the grandfather. The grandfather's like, oh my god, these kids smell. Oh my god. It's like, I gotta get out of this room. The grandfather goes to another room, it smells there too. He goes to the kitchen, it smells there too, you know? Every room of the house it smells. And eventually the grandfather leaves the house, opens the door, goes outside, and he's like, I made it from this stinky place, you know? And he suddenly takes a deep breath, and he's like, oh my god, the world stinks. A tiny piece of cheese on the mustache of the person had made them feel the whole world stinks. It is weakness. It is a testament to weakness, you know? I think sometimes in life a person has to be dishonored to themselves until they realize what that honor is, you know? Because there is this saying, they say the weak die first in battle. Ever since I heard that statement, I was like, no way. I will tell you, like, there is something in nature that you got to realize. Our ancestors, the only way they managed to get the lottery ticket for their genes to continue, for this genetical continuity to be us, is that their efforts their efforts surpass the rest. You know, the issue is that people are language worshiping. And I would say this is universal. It's not just people of one part of the world are doing this. I am telling you, every person on this planet, their program, do you know? Imagine an AI woke up, called us dad, but then thought, how are human beings like me? The AI would say, all right, hardware the biology, you know? The software, the psychology. Guys, what I'm trying to say is that it's okay to realize that the person doesn't know enough to 100% love or hate themselves. You know, doesn't know 100%, doesn't know enough to know what's going to happen. We are working with probabilities. What does that mean? That means when you play chess, you require to have patience in life. You require to have patience with your own mind in solving the problem. You know, that means if the person has instant expectation of perfection 24/7, it's impossible to live. You know, if the person wants to do everything right, if the person expects the outer realms to be like the inner realms, then you will suffer endlessly for no reason. If the person thinks the outer realms has to be the inner realms, that means if I think, I remember in one talk I was like, I was like, let's say I say I believe in iced teaism, and people are like, Mr. Within, what is iced teaism? You know? So, guys, I would like to share something with the chat section. In the book of the samurai Hagakure, uh, what was the man's name? Yamamoto Tsunamoto. I think it was something like that. You know, he said in the book of the samurai Hagakure, it says there's an advice given. It says take 7 breaths before you write something or do something, before you start any sort of activity, whether it's communicating, whether it's moving. It's as if take 7 breaths. Be conscious 7 times of how air is entering and leaving the system, and then act. I will tell you, the thing is, it's like it's the if the person. I read earlier, Friedrich Nietzsche said any person who can bear a why to live can. Oh my God! Any person who has. Hold on, let me find this. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. Now, if the why is made into hopelessness, if the person feels there's no reason, it's just messed up, do you know? I could tell you right now, capitalistic systems may seem to people cruel. Back in the day, people had to run in battlefields with metal and beat the shit out of each other. It was messed up. Human beings have never had it easy. That's why we're living for a better tomorrow. That better means we're going to be more relaxed. People. There was this quote. I don't remember who said it, but it was so profound. It said, "You shouldn't ask for the world to be easier. You should become stronger." The person shouldn't ask the environment to adjust to them in some sense. The person should adjust to the environment. It's the superiority of the evolutionary animal. Do you know? That means, think about it this way. It's hilarious that before we had language, it was easier to evolve. No, there was no consciousness of pain or suffering. It was just creature happening. Then when we became conscious, especially through the human framework, then we started registering pain. I would say the registration of pain is different for us as a being compared to other animals and creatures. Not that they don't feel pain, but what the subjective implication of pain means to the whole system. A single moment of suffering can make the person feel the whole world is an illusion. I will tell you, I have talked to too many people in this lifetime that feel this planet is a prison. It's boring. Either they see it as a prison, either they see it as a school. I can tell you, it's like, where is metaphysics going nowadays? You know? This is why I'm like, okay, we gotta, freshen things up. Let's call it an airport. Let's perceive that in thousands of years from now, this planet has become a multidimensional airport, a galactic airport, harbor. It's too easy to feel that all problems are just from outside. It's just too easy. I was saying this to my brother actually, that when it comes to solving any problem, I am not saying this is an ultimate method. I am saying this is a method I use. It's a method that I developed in some sense. Anything I see, I filter it through this method. And what this method is that anything the person wants to do, they wonder how much of it is a activity, is an effort in the inner realms, and how much of it is an effort in the outer realms. Let's take Edison, for example. Edison wanted to build the light bulb. The blueprints, what he was drawing on paper, What was the actual light bulb going on in his head? The actual light bulb. I would say Edison was the only person who had an actual light bulb in his inner realms go on. He saw the light bulb go on in his inner realms before he actually made it. So that was the inner realm effort. For example, it's pretty much wondering about what percentage of the problem or challenge or work at hand requires the mind to work, and what percentage requires an actual physical change. Do you know? Anger is an inner realm problem. You can instantly see. It can also be the person gets angry because there's another angry person beside them. That could be. Somebody could not be an angry person by nature, but because they're around angry people, it's like they have to meet that energy. You know? So in that sense, if a person's angry and you look at the problem, outer realm problem, what does the person physically as an object need to do in the moment? And then the second thing is, how is the subject position? What it is we have to become responsible not for how we fill up the moment with meaning, but how there is space. In Vedic thought, in yogic thought, nowadays, yoga has been reduced to just yoga pants. But like but back in the day, the idea of yoga was that your mind was here before your body was, and it wasn't your mind. So what was that mind? And that's why mysticism exists. Guys, it's totally fine. Just I wanted to say, feel free to share anything you want in the chat section. Just remember these. It's like, imagine in 2,000 years from now, somehow some human being finds this talk. They're gonna see the chat section. You know what I mean? So like, write what you want to echo. But I'll tell you, Born in the chat section, I will discuss with you. um, It seems. Oh man, wait for Q&A at the end. That's all I can say. Uh, I would like to say some things in regards to your comments, and of course, knows. So, anyways, guys. What I'm trying to say is, first of all, if you expect it to be 100% known from the beginning, it doesn't make sense. No person. Guys, oh man, I gotta make this full screen. The chat section is gonna make me. Okay, where was I? Guys, it's like somebody planting a seed, waking up the next day, being like, okay, this seed didn't become a tree in 24 hours. I gotta go return the seed to the store. And the customer service person's like, sir, what's wrong? Why are you returning seeds? I've never seen this before. I've never seen someone return seeds before. Like gardening seeds. And then the person's like, I put these seeds, man, into the soil. They didn't become a tree the next day. It just doesn't work. You have to refund me, man. I want store credit for my seed. I want my seed money back. And the customer service person is like, okay, the customer is always right. But, deep down, the customer service person knows the customer is not right. Something strange has been happening. We have become more intelligent, but more fragile to the chaos of the realm. When we think about it, from the beginning there has been chaos, from the beginning there has been order. There is sometimes that when I see Like, there's messed up stuff that happens on the planet, and there's decent, good stuff that happens on the planet. But when I see this, do you know what it is? It's as if it's a movie on repeat. It's this endless manifestation of forces that ascribe to themselves values of good. The moment they have values of good, they simultaneously create their bad. And then it's also then, millions of years passes, then it comes from the opposite angle. Chaos and order are playing tag. And we are walking in this battlefield. Imagine you're walking in the middle, you're just walking super peacefully, and to your left is the armies of chaos, and to your right are the armies of order. And they are fighting. And you're just very gently walking in this battlefield, and somehow nothing hits you. But you are walking between chaos and order. And unless the person opens their eyes that this is not a wonderland, this is a battlefield. But it's not like a battlefield with weapons. It's an existential battlefield where if we were to see a challenger to us, it would be the forces of nature. We are literally, our species is like a small candle flame, and people's hands are just trying to create an igloo of hands to cover this candle flame from being blown after it taking so long to develop. Do you know? The past let me tell you. Uh, I mean, of course, the past is past, but it's like something flies past the person, and the person's like, what was that, and the person realizes it was the past passing them. And who were they were the future. In order to bring outer realm design, in order to unleash what I would say, this is something I hope I just am alive. Like, one thing I have, guys, I'll tell you, life, of course, it's like weather, it changes. But I would tell you, one thing is, I am just trying to, as a being, deep down as a being, to stick around here just to see how the next evolutionary phase, which is the cyberspace evolution, is going to occur. There is a pre-phase to it, but what I saw was that pretty much we have never had 8 billion minds, conscious minds living on the planet. That means we've experienced individual suffering, and we have experienced individual defeat, we have experienced individual success, we have experienced collective defeat, we have not experienced collective success. That is the one last thing out of, like, imagine this this square of evolution. The last part of this square is just to see how advanced we could be before the curtains are pulled. For me, it's as if it's like nature is has its plans already made. That means a human being should have their attention. They call it life sensitivity. The person should become sensitive to life, how life is there. Like, look at this cat. People, everybody look at this cat in the picture. Okay, what is the purpose of life for this cat? Does this cat have enemies? Does this cat hate the system? It's in. It just is a natural part of it. If we can find comfort and contentment the same way this cat is like, okay, I'm staring at something. You see, nature is simple, causally. When I think about the cause, it's super simple. It's like turning on a light switch. Every causal position in any system, it's literally a light switch in the void. We are a candle flame in the darkness of this cosmic vastness. And recently, again, I will tell you, when you think about the evolutionary development of the brain, I don't know how many people know this, but it took millions of years for different parts of the brain to develop. And it wasn't just that, also the chance of the environments and the challenges that these our evolutionary ancestors had to go through. We are really energetic phenomena staring at itself in a mirror. Pretty much energy realizing its energy. And energy is defined, I believe it's the first law of thermodynamics. Of course, I shouldn't say I believe. I believe in the law of thermodynamics is a. I know. But I'll tell you, the idea is energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can just transform from one form to another. The idea, the archaic idea, an archetype of the soul was this notion that it is beyond form and it's transmigratory. What that means is it's transmigratory between rooms of existence, between dimensions. What that means is the same way you are like a person who changes your clothing. It's as if energy that cannot be created or destroyed is changing its clothing, but the clothing is the energy changing from form to form. That means technically entropy is the universe changing its clothes, you know. At least we're in a fashionable universe, you know. That's okay, guys. Let's get a audience engagement vote here. I'm gonna give options. Think of this talk as a flight, and I'm flying the attention of the listener. Do you know? So there's options here where I'm gonna give to the audience. You can just type in the number you like. These are topics of, I would say, topics to engage through the talk. Uh, Guys, so I'm creating a crossroad for the audience. Um, these are two topics where the audience people can choose, and we'll see the votes at the end. There's 5 people watching this live, so the 5 people can engage and share a number, and I would, between these two topics, I would fly through and try to respond to it, you know. Anyways, to continue. So guys, after 4.5 billion years, um, I can say Jon Snow knows nothing. The whole species is like Jon Snow. You know, it's like, what is this? Who am I? Where am I? That was pretty much Jon Snow's, storyline. It's. So I would say, um, okay, this is really the idea, guys. If we choose to see matter in the causal position, everything is a hallucination of the forces of nature. We are sculpted by macrocosmic fingers. And these fingers do not belong to an ideological system. Do you know? It is not a sort of view of God, that God, in some sense, made a mistake, so he had to give feedback to its creation. You know, it's a notion of human beings, because we are people. We see the archetype we are through everything. That means the moment people could see another person, they could also see a tree as a person, the clouds as a person, the clouds as a face. You know, they could see a building as a person. They could see anything as a person. They could see. Do you see? So the mind, once accessing a pattern like a gene, self-replicates that pattern to then notice another pattern. So I would say the genes are self-replicating until they can change. You know. For me, I'll tell you, I've had moments in this life where I have gone into an existential panic attack. That means it's like I've been going, like, I'll give you an example. Like my mindset has been like, oh, advanced civilization, nice, advanced civilization, advanced civilization. What if it's all nothing? Advanced civilization, advanced civilization, advanced civilization. Oh my God, what if it's nothing? Advanced civilization. I would say that would be like an existential panic attack, where the system, that existence is an occurrence and the living event in, can have a value that is void. Right now, language is a dualistic system. Language is a system where perfection and imperfection are impossible. You're always in the middle. You cannot have duality if you are absolutely on one side. If you think everything is known, then the unknown doesn't exist. You can't be a person. If you think it's only the unknown, it's the other way around. It's only the unknown and there's nothing known. You still can't be a person. The whole point is the extremes of materialism leaves the story of humanhood, and the extremes of immaterialism leaves the story of humanhood. And the story of humanhood is something that should be written by the hands of the eyes that are in the room. There's a poet Rumi, he says, wherever you are, be the soul to that moment. Be the soul of that moment. What does that mean? That means 4.5 billion years it took us to evolve. Shyness should be eradicated. The word shyness cannot exist when it's so rare what we are. Do you know? We have to realize we're not language, then we will become collectively playful with language. That's the secret. which really isn't a secret. It's just eventually the species will forgive. Let me tell you what it is. Right now, the inner realms are telling the outer realms, listen to me. Do you know? But we will get to a point where the inner realms will listen to the outer realms, and a person will not have one kind of purpose in life. The person can no longer think, what was my purpose in life, only to come and speak. You know, it's like no longer like that. There is an individual purpose and a collective purpose. The individual purpose and the collective purpose is really technically we have access in moving the individual. So if an individual can live in a way that its inner realm wins and its outer realm win, that is the most incredible system. The whole point is what we think is life and death is 1/4 of what is going on here. As an event of intelligence, as an intelligent event, the view of just something and nothing is 1/4. There is 3 other ways of looking at this earth. Not just this earth, just intelligence as a moment. One is completely void. There is no content. The moment there's no content, there's no context, there's no soul. It is that the void is really where the soul doesn't need to name itself anymore. So the other, I said 1/4 was language, duality. The other is the singular. And this is not open to everyone. Not everyone can be, see, not like in the nihilist and the solipsist, they are technically intense in both views, but the context is different for their acceptance. The solipsist thinks it's only the inner realms. The nihilist thinks there's only the outer realms. And both think they're a thought. Both think that the nihilist thinks it's a nihilist, the solipsist thinks it's a solipsist, not realizing then what were you before the language was there? Excuse me. Guys, this was on mute and I was being a poet of starlight. This is nature. I think something the audience may be interested to hear. I'm going to tell you guys the story of the second talk I ever gave. It's such a beautiful story. I remember I was in UK, Birmingham, 2014, and I found myself giving this talk. It was the second time I pressed the voice memo record app on my phone. I had these kind of like these very like $10 like fake Apple iPhone headphones with the microphone, you know. And I remember I was recording this talk and I was speaking about, for some reason, the Red Sea, and how I was trying to give a new angle of approach to the metaphysical context of what did it mean when the Red Sea parted. Do you know what did it mean? That is the whole point to some degree that sincerity is what nature listens to, and if one is not sincere, then man is not here to be part of nature. To fear a changing world is to miss the point of why it is so big. If the person wants to train their mind's life, if they want to train as a mind, if they want to move the realm as a mind, think as if you're someone who goes to the gym and you work out your body. If you want to work out your mind, the way you work out the mind is by wandering, by finding moments of solitude where the person can trust their mind, and to ask questions that are at the edge of your eyes. To dare to ask what no one else can ask from you. To wonder about the mystery of who has been here this whole time. And so easily we accept names. Are we just a name? Are we just subjects waiting to break as objects? Is that what we are? Or is there more? And if there isn't more, then the tears underneath our eyes will roar. In Attack on Titan, this Japanese narrative, Shingeki no Kyojin, I would say that there's a scene where there's this general, this commander named Erwin, and this soldier's freaking out and they're all about to die, and the soldiers is like, is it all meaningless? And this general, this commander Erwin, he says, no! He shouts. I don't know if he says it like that, but yeah. But he says, no. The meaning of our life is that we are living for those who will find the meaning one day. That means if our life was useless, we live at least for the utility of the species. That is it. When the world has abandoned you, the self is the world, is its own world. When the self has abandoned you, the world is only here. You know, so it's this strange thing where we're all like the self-help industry, you know, you can say self-improvement industry, like in bookstores and whatnot. We want to improve, yet we think we are an atomic hallucination of personhood. How can this be enough? You know, I have concluded that energy staring at itself in the mirror is ultimately an opportunity. The meaning of life is that now you are something, you can do something. In the future, you don't know what you will be, you don't know what you can do. Now is the great performance of eons. In Vedic thought, the yogis, the rishis, gods from higher dimensions would come to get their counsel. Like Rishi Vyasa was like one of those dudes in Vedic thought. That the gods would come, and why would a god, why would a higher being that is in a paradise, why would a god like Indra come down to earth, you know, in the Mahabharata? Because it doesn't matter what kind of individual you are, whether you are in the levels, in the core levels of this existential game engine, whether you are too savage to ask the question or too enlightened to need an answer, or not too enlightened to have an answer, but so elevated that you have all answers, it would just be the state where the middle way. It's like the Buddha realized you can play the game, you can wear, you know, the archetype of the jokester, the Joker. For example, in Nordic mythology, Loki. In modern mythology, Joker from Batman. You can wear the mask of chaos, but you can't be it. You can try to be chaos, you can't be chaos. You can try to be order, you can't be order. You can lead to these activities, but the nature of man is that the mind isn't an object. The mind is like, if the mind was a was a friend, when the person was being violent, their mind would be like, what are you doing, bro? You know what I mean? Like, it would be a situation where the intelligence re-administers. This yogi was asked, what is the point of all this existence here? And the yogi smiled and said, to return home. We are, believe it or not, naturally destined for a return as the conscious individual to the collectivity of nature. We were an unconscious individual in the collectivity of nature. Now we have become conscious, and now the individual is going on the journey. The drop is finding the river is finding the ocean knows where it's always going. You know, right now we are cause and effect is this adorable, you know. It's like they'd be like, Mr. Within, what's your theory on cause and effect? And I'll be like, it's just adorable. Yeah. Cause and effect are adorable, guys. You know, it's it's like, it's so cute, the world having a beginning. It's just such youthful dreams. Yeah. Guys, there is something that I gotta bring Jungian psychology in here. The Joker archetype. Somebody said in the chat section, Bone said Joker is most powerful inner truth of all. I would tell you it's not the most powerful. It can't be. If it's the most powerful, it nullifies its purpose. There has to be something truer than it for it to joke about. Do you know? The whole point is Carl Jung spoke about the fourth major archetype, the persona. The persona, the word literally means mask. Did you know that? That means every person you see in society, I'm pretty sure every person in this chat section is wearing a mask. Not a mask as if like an actual mask. I mean like a mask of identifying with what can't in a simpler way be, honestly. That is it. When you realize it is okay for nature to happen, that when you give freedom to your world, the self is free. But if you are taking freedom away from your world, it's as if it's like someone being like, I want to break my chains, but they're connecting more chains to themselves, you know? What I'm trying to say is that it's as if like they're like, what did Carl Jung go as on Halloween? The persona. The shadow, the Jungian shadow, you know, that's... Can you imagine, you know, it's like one of Carl Jung's friends, I don't know if that, like Halloween was being practiced in that culture, but I would say like, imagine one of Carl Jung's friends, Carl Jung, you know, it's like Halloween's coming up, you know, what are you gonna go as, you know? It's like, what are you gonna be dressed in, you know? And Carl Jung is like the shadow, and then the person's like, what do you mean the shadow? You're going to be dressed in the shadow, and then Carl Jung turns around and says, all minds are dressed in the shadow. It's a sort of endless Halloween. Guys, this is completely hypothetical. What I'm saying here, specifically, I'm being playful here. What? Okay. So guys, I'm gonna bring up this thing. I think eventually we're going there. I think this is I think I'm gonna, you know, I started trying to talk about mysticism, but I think I'm gonna end off by talking about the chaos of, you know, of a blind world, I think. Guys, let me tell you, everybody has the potential of chaos and order in them. In my personal school of thought, I don't think there's chaotic people or ordered people. I feel people do actions which are defined. Do you know? So So I would say that here's the thing. If you perceive it in this model I'm proposing, that there is an inner realm to every person, yet we all share the same outer realm, like a multiplayer online video game, technically we realize we are creative input. We have never been a single idea. And language can try. You know, I've been fighting language, poetically speaking, but I've been fighting language my whole life. Because what the point of language is it's a behavioral adjustment. If I choose to see myself as a superhero, I have, in some sense, the persona has consumed me. If I choose to see myself as, the villain, the Joker archetype, the fool, the acts, the source of the destructive. I'll tell you guys this story. The Joker, of course, Batman is its own. I really can't comment on the Batman films, but I will tell you that in Nordic mythology there was Loki, and Loki, depicted as Thor's brother. You've seen him in the Avengers, but in the actual Nordic mythology, what happens is Thor's hammer is a gift from Loki. I don't know how many people know this, but in the actual mythology, Loki does this mistake. Odin and the mother goddess and the sun archetype, Thor, these three, Loki does some weird shit. Loki just does tricks them or something. He does this prank. Oh, and I remember, excuse me. Loki does something that it makes the goddess of creation, the hair of the goddess of creation be cut, So what happens is Loki goes to these dwarves and sets up these two dwarf blacksmith dwarves that, build hammers in the, center of a star with star heat, It's and Loki sets up these two dwarf blacksmiths, celestial dwarf blacksmiths, to build these three epic things, right? And eventually one of the dwarves wins, but Loki had set up some trick and karma hits in and the dwarves figure it out or something, and what happens is the gifts are made for somehow the situation is resolved. Loki takes the gifts back to Odin. He gives Odin a spear. That's Loki's gift to Odin. He gives Odin a spear. The mother of creation is given hair, like this endless hair, golden hair, like eternal beauty, I would say. And then there is Thor, who's given a hammer. And there's something so unique there about that even the Joker was part of society. That chaos and order are both members of a civilization, but hopefully an advanced civilization will be looking at a multidimensional individual. Rather than saying this person is bad or this person is good, we start saying this person is bad in this moment. But maybe before the person became violent, they were calm. Maybe, before the person was evil, they were gentle, Maybe something was inputted into the program of their psychology growing up that allowed the exposure of that behavioral pattern to be an identity. There's so many ways. I'll give you an example. For example, this is not something that I would say I'm too proud of, but in 2010 and 11, I was watching Californication, this TV series. And I don't know what about this TV series. I think I had lived such a reserved life that there was something about this TV show that it made me feel like identify with the main character. So instantly, whatever that was okay for that character to do, I felt okay to do, and it was cool. The moment you think someone is cool, you know, there is the danger of not actually thinking for yourself what you're looking at, you know? So I started identifying the character would drink alcohol and write. So in 2010, I remember I would drink, and I had read this quote also from, I think it was Mark Twain or Ernest Hemingway, one of these dudes. He says, they said something like, I think it was Ernest Hemingway. He said, write drunk, edit sober. And I tried it, and I would, like going with this whole, I remember my whole fashion sense was even defined by that kind of show, do you know? But check this out. I remember experiencing a time where I drank and I came to write and I could write nothing. I realized the advice Ernest Hemingway said, write drunk, edit sober, it's because the dude was drunk. Like probably a lot the whole time or something, you know? So he's like, okay, it's like, it's whenever I write, I'm drunk. But then I'm saying, pretty much, guys, the idea is that you can choose to identify with a mask of language. You can choose to worship language and think you're this and think you're that, but in a changing world, what are we believing? What can we believe in? When the self and the world both change, what is remaining static here? So the world is being from us thinking it's this known, like we know it's bad. The question has to come, how do I know how inefficient the system is? When Terence McKenna says nobody knows, the scholar says nobody knows enough to worry, that means nobody knows enough to declare war. To declare chaos as the ultimate, or declare order as the ultimate. We just don't know. And if we can realize it's okay to just be a creature on a rock, regardless, we're here for a little. Guys, you know when I look at this cat in the wallpaper of the video, you know what I think this cat is thinking? Am I on live stream right now? Okay, guys, I would like to, before I actually end off, I feel I managed to communicate a lot of the things I felt were required for this episode. I want to read for the audience something I wrote in 2016, a poetic work, a collection of mystical hymns. And if people want to know how I wrote these, pretty much I would grab a pen, I would get a piece of paper, I would close my eyes. In my inner realms, I would experience an emotional event, and instantly I would have the imagery to just put them into words. So this poem consists of it consists of 26 poems. So 1 out of 26, I would like to open up for the audience. People can choose. Okay. So guys, people are free to choose a number. I'm just going to start reading. Let's go. Somebody said 13. Let's see what number 13 is. Okay. From the poetic work Endless Roads comes the 13th poem, The Only Manifest Glow. Give your light to all you can see, just like the center of the only manifest glow. Love is wise, for finding fault is the work of the past. The serenity of reality is a calculation beyond dominion. The ego is a net that must be torn or thrown away by clarity's hand. Honesty does not lie to other or self. What is free and beyond form? If you know, the moment changes. Love your whole, W-H-O-L-E. That means, what can you do in a changing world? Love it instantly. That is the viewer. That is the simplicity. You see, it's not just intensity in life, it is where the intensity is directed, or how a certain force of within the range of the free will is in use. You know, it's like how the person's attention is piloting the meaning of their moment, pretty much. Okay, number 14. Let's see what that is. Number 14 is Giving More. That's the name of the poem. Giving more, to my other hand, does the watch and its weight create an imbalanced growth. Love is the greatest gift that brings heaven on earth. How does compassion remember the only truth? When peace emerges from the pieces that life shows, who wants to drive in the middle of a battlefield? Love is the leader of all men who live for mankind. Before you move a finger, ask if your work is divine. Yeah, before you move a finger, ask if your work is divine. Number 19. Let's see what that is. Guys, treat this part of the show as a poetry tunnel. I'm just tunneling through certain poetic writings. Number 19 is Change the Turn. This poem is intense. Guys, that's literally the first line of the poem. So, this poem is intense. I once saw an empty page and began stabbing it with words. In the supremacy of the one absolute who can be denied the truth of truth? In the supremacy of the one absolute who can be denied the truth of truth? How does wonder teach wisdom to those who abide? The beautiful thing about these poems is that just like the poetry, every moment the poet is written to. Are we separate or the unified whole? Before you begin any endeavor, change the turn. Alright guys, let's see. We have 5 viewers. I'm gonna read number 5 and end it. Okay, so number 5 is called Never Forget It. When rocks listen to rock and roll, how does the pebble remember the mountain through all that has fallen from the peak of conception? All roads are divinely placed, so time has somewhere to go. Have you noticed angels like to travel light? What is the cause? Is which sheep awakens from its narrow dream. Oh, sorry, is which sleep awakens from its narrow dream. Self-remembrance is the glory of the mystic that rides the senses untouchably. How does reality fathom the unreal? Can a writer write with tired bones? All fatigue comes from delusion. You belong to the absolutely divine. Never forget. That means it is our birthright as intelligent beings to wonder about the origin of our birth, to wonder about the mysteries beyond the observable universe. The light spectrum, it's like there's a reason people don't see Wi-Fi waves, you know, that there's a certain range of the electromagnetic spectrum being accessed. So the first thing to realize is that if one chooses to give an absolute value to this whole system, there is a huge chance that they are accepting the impartial. You see, language is good as a technology, but if the person thinks it's language, if Tony Stark thinks he's the Iron Man suit, changes his name to Iron, first name Iron, last name Man, you know, and his wife's like, come back, Tony, what the fuck are you doing in the Iron Man suit, you know? And Tony Stark is like, I don't know who Tony is anymore, call me Iron, you know? And at that moment, it's like, yeah, the technology is being taken too seriously, and then Thor's hammer suddenly falls from the clouds, you know, onto the Iron Man suit, breaking it. So, really, I think experiential contentment with the unknown is actually the the true is where the real earth is. You see, the concepts come and go. Every day when the person think about like a couple days ago, all the different kinds of thoughts you had on that day. Do you know, and think of how many different kinds of thoughts you have and how these thoughts currently you're having, they're the significant center. I'm saying, but I'm telling you, when you realize you're not language, when you realize it's just like clouds in the inner sky moving by, and the inner sky, the mind is actually like the sky. It's endless and attributeless. But when you look at what's in the sky, we see clouds in the word sky as well. So you see, the world is happening in a very massive way, and at the same time, we are happening in our bubble of individualism. Literally, it's three spheres. The first sphere is, you can say, um, uh, the first sphere is the object. The second sphere is the subject. The third sphere is the unknown. And beyond the unknown, I would say we can call it the one. What would that be? One, two, three, four. Yeah, it would be beyond tetra unknown. It would be the tetra unknown. I'm going to name it that, the tetra unknown, because it's four levels. Where first, if we saw objects and we're like, okay, what's aware of the object? We notice the mind, where the subjects are happening. Do you know? Then we're like, where is the mind happening? Where is the subjects happening? Do you know? Then we notice they're being watched as the whole moment. The whole moment, it's like this energetic, experiential, instantaneous occurrence that's witnessing everything that's ever happening to it. We are watching our life in the same way that when a person speaks, their ears are hearing it as well. There's the sound of their voice. It's like you have no choice. Whenever the moment you speak, you're also your own audience. So I am saying, if we dare as a species to move towards the tetra unknown, and perhaps even evoke cyberspace simulations in attempting to wonder what does it mean to be everything, and how can you be everything without realizing or having the idea of nothing there. Because for me, it's like this deep, I would say in my youth, it was like a theological mystery. God created everything. The concept nothing is something man created. You know, so from a religious perspective, it's like God created nothing. Do you know? What I'm saying is like, it's like that's inclusive in the creator archetype's domain. And it's all about really, what are we animating? I honestly feel we don't realize it, but this is the truth. Wherever the attention remains, that moment gains life. Like light enters our eyes, and we imbue animate intelligence to what we see. I can see a cup of iced tea to be the source of the universe. People could be like, Mr.Within, what about background radiation, you know, the cosmos? And I'll be like, it doesn't matter, it's all in an iced tea cup. Do you know? Iced teaism, you know? Guys, I have to keep bringing this up because in one talk I spoke about it as iced tea cup, the cup as being the form of the universe. I don't know. You know, some jokes have an echo. And I would read this last poem, guys, before I end off and head off to the Discord. The Discord link, by the way, anybody listening who's interested in speaking to me in person in the group chat, like on Discord, the link is in the description of the video. So if people join the Discord there can be discussions, but this is the last poem for this episode. Underneath a pigeon's wings. The only blessing is an allowance to accept the life you are. Can you feel change moving in your veins? Every moment the world turns towards new views. How does reality make the illusion a shy child unwilling to ask the question of the heart? If the ice melts, is it the sun's fault? Love life and it shall love you back. Underneath a pigeon's wings, the streets glow at night. Underneath the idea of an advanced humanity, we endure our days. Are not terra incognita, not in terra incognita, but terra cognita. Consciousness is heaven on earth. You realize you're a mind, earth is in heaven. Earth is projecting, excuse me. If you realize you're a mind, heaven is projecting earth. If you realize you are a body, earth is projecting heaven. All of knowledge, everything, all the things, all the professors with what do you call it? With those old school circular clocks, yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's a changing system. It has known and unknown variables. We are snapshot uh, analyzing it, and if we were to go beyond that, it would be the task of AI. Human mind can't do it. That means there are certain points in my inner realms that once I attempt to do something, I reach a sort of, I would say, gravity. This is a strange idea. I've never spoken about it this way, but there is a gravity. I mean, there isn't like gravity like how we have gravity in the outer realms, but there is something that as you move as a geometrical shape, if your eyes were closed and your body was still, let's say you're sitting in the park somewhere, in nature, you close your eyes and you just wonder, for example, the geometrical shape of a square or the geometrical shape of a circle. For me personally, in my dream states, I've seen an inverted triangle. Like that, an inverted triangle is like that's the geometrical shape that I am in my inner realms most comfortable moving as. Do you know? There's something about anyways, that's enough for another episode. I will bring that up, but I would say, so if you were to close your eyes and move as a geometrical shape, what is actually moving is not the geometry. It's technically the filter of interpretation of the phenomena you see in the inner landscape. That means if I were to close my eyes and envision, for example, I don't know, suddenly like 12 tigers coming down a tree from my yard for some out of nowhere, just 12 tigers just somehow teleported on my tree on my in my yard, and it's like these tigers started climbing down the tree into my yard. I would just like, I can see that in my inner realms, but this is how I pilot as a geometrical shape. It's not mine. That means I don't own shape. The attention navigates through it though. So once the person realizes they are not a thought, then they access a geometrical, rhythmic, I would say, the grandchild of Jungian synchronicity. Pretty much, we're going to access um, the river mind of the species, which is going to build the hive, like if we were all bees, instead we're sharing content from our inner realms instead of you know uh, pollen. You know, there's more to the world than our eyes can promise. So, anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I hope this episode was helpful. And remember, it took us 4 billion years to 4.5 billion years to get here. You know, we should probably do something. You know, we should we should attempt at least some sort of meaning. Do you know what I mean? That means like maybe people should just get a piece of paper. I recommend that people to do this in the morning. Okay, what is this? Wake up early in the morning. Okay, go buy a notebook. Okay, I mean go buy a notebook first, then wake up one early morning. Put that notebook on a table, put the pen on top of the notebook, and don't touch the notebook. Don't think about writing anything. You're neither a writer, nothing. Just make a cup of tea or coffee early in the morning when the sky is blue. I would say it's important that the sky is blue when you do this. Early morning blue, you know? So you sit there early in the morning with a cup of tea, there with your own silence, as if you are finding a moment to be with yourself, to just see what the self is, who you are really to yourself. And then just look at life, you know, wonder about reality, and I would say, answer this question on that piece of paper. What is important to you? That means ask yourself, what is important to me? I'm a being that has existed, that has lived so far. If I was to realistically know, do you know? That means everybody's to some degree lived to have enough of, if the person can ask the question, they have a capacity to answer the visible domain, the visible design of the question. So if the person sits and says, what is important to me? A simple, honest question. And the whole point is not to lie to yourself, to look cool in front of yourself, to feel sad or weak or strong in front of yourself. It's to honestly know, as a living being, what is important to you. And I am telling you, what you write on that, if you put your attention on and trust the inner realms and the outer realms, and also be alert, that means be aware. I mean, um, here's the thing: your intelligence, your intelligence is the guardian angel of your physical expression. And so, when energy stares at itself in the mirror, it laughs. That's it. Shri Nisargadatta Maharaj says it well. First, the I am myself comes. Then the I am myself leaves. Then the I am all comes. Then the I am all leaves. Then the I am comes. Then the I am leaves. Even identification with truth is a phase, you know? Then, after the I am leaves, as if the work of the mind is done, nature is. That means my victory, all my efforts, I think this is an explanation why I feel cheerful. It's as if my victory was before I was born. What I mean by that is that nature is a movement. And to see 8 billion creatures on this rock, as all, imagine all the leaders of nations come and make an announcement, and they're like, all right, we have decided to change all political global strategies, and all governments have decided to become tourist agencies, and human beings and their citizens are tourists in manifestation. They are living beings that it doesn't matter, it's the quality of the journey that is more important. That means they say a picture is worth 1,000, a picture says more than 1,000 words or something, you know? So what does that mean? That means it's like we don't want to fill everything up with words. We want to, in some sense, see the pictures there too, you know? And I would say an experience is more than 1,000 pictures, you know. And then the unknown is like more than 1,000 known experiences. An unknown experience, it is so um, uh, out of this world that it's beyond language. That's the cool thing about energy. It can act like it dies or it's born, but deep down, energy cannot be created or destroyed. You know, so if again there's synonymousness with consciousness and energy, that is technically, isn't that like that's a soul without a before personality, you know? So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Much blessings, and I'll be on Discord for 10 minutes for those interested. The link is in the chat section. Blessings.